if you're going to grow roses for cut flower production, I'm going to recommend you limit yourself to a few principal classes of modern bush roses. Those would be hybrid tea roses, grandiflora roses, floribunda roses, and the great David Austin roses. They just basically fall in line and produce more uniformly and more prolifically than old garden roses, OG roses as they're sometimes referred to. Not that those aren't lovely and redeeming and have some value in the home garden and even some cut flower value. I'm just talking about the basics. Let's look at a couple of hybrid tea roses we have here and characterize the class a little bit, and then step in a little more and look at the two different but very similar varieties we have in front of us. Hybrid tea roses are modern roses. They actually were the breakthrough rose in the late 1800s. A rose was bred called La France by a French guy. Well, yeah, sure. And it had a couple characteristics that distinguish it from all the old garden roses of the history of the 32 million years that roses have reportedly been on the planet. And those two principal things were, it was repeat blooming. Old garden roses tend to bloom prolifically often, but not always, for a brief period of a few weeks in the spring. Modern roses, as exampled here by the hybrid tea, are very remondant or repeat blooming. You will get 2, 3, 4 rounds of bloom from mid-spring through fall, depending on a couple of things. One is your climate and your care. So the hybrid tea, repeat blooming. The hybrid tea flower form was somewhat unique. It is often classified as being pointed, ovoid, high-centered. It is kind of your quintessential florist rose, one stem and bud to a vase like that. They behave well in a cut flower operation. That is, they're easy to cut, bunch, and distribute, or cut, bunch, and use in mixed arrangements. So what have we got here? We have one hybrid tea, arguably one of my more favorite ones, Just Joey, and then to my left here, a very similar variety, Brandy. Let's go look at the Just Joey here. How would you classify these colors? Colors I'm hooked on. They're kind of rich, warm orange, buff, apricot, bronzy like that. Really nice coloration like that. And hybrid teas, in their genetics, were bred to throw their roses, their blooms, one to a stem. But as we see variously around the bush, what's the joke? Sometimes these roses have not read the books, gone to school, and thus don't know how to behave. So you need a little classroom teacher behavior modification. So your hybrid tea may throw a single, or it may throw multiple buds. You'd probably be best advised to pinch out or cut out the lateral blooms. More energy going into a longer, stronger stem and a bigger bloom. And here we have a similar situation. I'm just going to cut one out and leave these two. But let's step over to the Brandy here and say, this is about the stage you would want to disbud at. I've got my central bloom here, and I want to get more juice going into that. So I'll simply pinch out the laterals. We're good, like that. Brandy and Just Joey, very similar in their overall characteristics, excepting in one department. Would that Brandy had more fragrance. It's got a little, but not a lot. Just Joey, on the other hand, has got this marvelous, rich, almost citrusy fragrance to it. It's sublime. Another thing I like about Just Joey over Brandy is when it opens, the edges of the petal are fluted. Just a nice little touch like that. Generally, when you're doing cut flowers, you would want to cut them in a tight bud stage like this. You see the sepals just starting to unfurl, and in this instance it's a little more open. The sepals are more or less horizontal. good range to cut a flower to get it to last. Roses will last at least 5 to 7 days, sometimes as long as 10 days. If you cut them in the cool parts of the day, if you get them immediately in cold water, and if you put them in the shade. You may or may not choose to use floral preservatives. There are organic and chemical routes you can go with floral preservatives, but an easy way to go is home brew. You simply take a teaspoon of sugar, put it in the water, and a teaspoon of vinegar and put it in the water. And the sugar is a food source to keep the bloom going, and the vinegar will snuff out bacteria and fungi which will clog the bottom of the stem, causing the rose to wilt. Just Joey, Brandy, 2 excellent hybrid teas. Okay, let's talk about another major class of modern bush roses, the Floribundas, or as the British more sensibly classify them, cluster roses. We'll get to the details in a minute, but I have a specimen, 2 specimens here from a preeminent Floribunda, hot cocoa. Really enticing, sultry, cinnamony, almost chocolate-like bloom with nice fragrance. Not overpowering, a bit subtle, but definite. This is a Floribunda. It's a cluster rose. Unlike hybrid teas, which in general throw their flowers 1 bud to the stem, these are bred to have clusters of buds. And you can see here I have the central one and 1, 2, let me turn this around here. 1, 2, 3, 4 satellite blooms. Often they'll be more symmetrical, the center bloom and the satellite blooms. But the point is they give you multiple blooms. This is good because it's a nice spray effect when you use it as a cut flower. This can be a bit problematic because, as we see here, the center bloom opens appreciably prior to the satellite blooms. So you never get the full effect. By the time the satellite blooms open, the petals have dropped off the center bloom. Some folks will sacrifice the center bloom just to get that nice cluster or spray of roses, your choice. But Floribundas tend to be almost wider than they are tall, and generally maybe 30 to 40 inches tall, whereas hybrid teas and grandifloras tend to be pretty vigorous bushes, 4 to 5, even 6 feet. One of the things about Floribundas is that they have succeeded in terms of breeding in imparting extreme disease resistance to them. I would say more than any other class of roses. And the tip-off is, look at the foliage of Floribundas. They tend to be really sheeny, shiny, and waxy. And this waxy cuticle on the leaf prevents fungal spores and moisture from getting together and causing an outbreak of disease.